I created the most perfect all shimmer palette of my dreams, and I'm so excited to show you guys this. So pretty much I'm going on a trip next week. I'm going to New Orleans with creators and friends, and it's a bunch of beauty influencers. So of course I'm gonna bring a ton of makeup and do some beautiful makeup looks on the trip, right? But I don't want to bring a bunch of different palettes with me, and my makeup style right now, I've really been liking just using kind of an all matte palette like the Patrick Ta or the Makeup by Mario, and then just popping a shimmer or two on my lid and in my inner corner. So I thought it would be fun to go through all of my magnetic palettes, which are mostly Natasha Denona, and take out all of my favorite shimmer shades and make a beautiful shimmer palette. If you are a neutral shimmer lover like me, you are gonna love this video. It was so fun to go through all of my palettes and pick out my favorites. I also went through and swatched everything, so let's just get right into it. And at the end of the video, I will do a look with my custom shimmer palette and one of my matte palettes. And then so I don't get all of my shades mixed up, I bought these little dot stickers that I can stick on the back of the shade so I can write the palette and like the shade number down so I don't get them all mixed up. So the first palette I pulled out is the new Hyper Natural Face palette, and the only reason I grabbed this one is for this dreamy shade right here. I did do a couple videos on this palette, and it turns out I'm just not really a fan of these cream shadows. I find that they crease on me no matter what I do, but this dreamy shade is one of her sparkling wet effect shadows that I absolutely love. Okay, so let me just show you what this one looks like. Like, it is just so pretty all over the lid for a little sparkly wash of color, and it's like very translucent too, so you're just getting that sparkle in it, and I just think it's gorgeous. I can pop this out with like a little thumbtack here. There we go. HN2 for Hyper Natural Shade 2. And this always gets so messy popping these shadows in and out, but that is the first one that I want. And I might move things around as we go, but let's start there. Next is the Yucca palette, and this palette has some really, really gorgeous shimmers. I specifically love this one and this one. Yeah. So this one has a little bit more green to it. This first one, Plantasia, is kind of similar to the shade Hollywood in my palette with Sigma, but Natasha shimmers just have more reflect in general than Sigma's formula, but I really, really like those. And I might have already popped these ones out before in the past, so let's see here. Oh no, I haven't. Oh, see, that one I do have, Yucca 3. I kind of wish I had a slightly smaller Z palette for this, because I don't think I'm going to need too many shimmery shades, but this is going to have to work for now. Next is the Glam palette. Now these shimmers aren't so much as like the super sparkly and reflective. They're kind of more like an opaque shimmer. But whenever I use this palette, I really like this inner corner shade. It's kind of like a champagne. It has a little bit of a pinkiness to it, and it's just really pretty all over the lid. Pop that one out. Glam 3. And I'll probably rearrange these later, but I'm just gonna lay them in there for now. I do also like this center eyelid shade. I think it's a really good just inner corner highlight. It's a bit softer though, and I'm thinking of another shade instead of this one. So I think I'm gonna pass on that one for now. Of course, I had to pull out I Need a Nude. I can already tell you like 3 shades I'm gonna pull from this palette. Definitely need sheen, but I'm kind of curious to see how this one looks next to that shade from the Hyper Natural Face palette, because they are kind of similar where they're the wet effect shadow. So I'm looking at this shade compared to this first one, and I feel like the one from the Hyper Natural Face palette has more sparkle to it, but their colors are pretty similar. Actually, I think I like this one better, so I'm gonna keep that one and pass on sheen. Another shade I love from this palette is Muse. This is not one of the sparkling wet effect shadows, but it's just a really pigmented, all over the lid color. I love this one. Actually, I feel like this shade is pretty similar to that first one. I'm gonna re-swatch this one next to Muse. Yeah, like their sparkle is really similar, but Muse just has more of kind of like a nude base to it. Or again, as this shade is kind of just more sheer. But I love Muse, so I'm gonna pop that one out. And I already have Nude 8. I do also like Delilah. I believe this is another sparkling wet effect shadow, but it has just more of a deeper brown base to it. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Yep, definitely pulling out that one. Oh my gosh, I love seeing all these shades laid out next to each other. Okay, I want to see what Ella looks like. It's definitely softer, not like blowing me away though. I think I'm gonna pass on that one. And then let me swatch Filigree. And this one is more like a true shimmer, not a sparkling wet effect shadow, but Dang, that reflect is really, really pretty. I think I am gonna pull that one out. It'd be nice to kind of have a deeper brown like this, even for like the lower lash line. I love kind of doing a sparkly shade along the lower lash line. Right, so that is filigree. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna clean off my arm here. I was also eyeballing Mia here. This one is more of like kind of a cool tone pink topper shade. But I don't really wear like pink eyeshadow that much, so I don't think I'll get a lot of use out of that one. So I'm gonna pass on that. I think that's all I want from I Need a Nude. That's 3 shades out of there. I feel like that's pretty good. Bronze. I just don't really wear these like super warm shadows anymore, so I don't think I'm gonna want to need these at any point. Retro. I do like this palette a lot. Okay. I know I just said I don't really like pink shadows, but I am gonna swatch Glitz and Psychedelic. This is Glitz and Psychedelic. Psychedelic is kind of close to that shade from I Need a Nude Mia, but I feel like Psychedelic has a little bit more kind of baby pink to it. But yeah, I guess I just don't really wear these shades. I do want to look at Jude here, because I like that this shade is kind of taupey, has a little bit of a gray to it. And I feel like that could be really pretty on the lid with something a little bit more like reflective on top. I don't know, I kind of like that taupiness to it. I'm gonna look at Helio as well. That's a little bit more copper than I would like, but I think I like this Jude one. This is Retro 3. All right, I think that's all I want from this palette. Ooh, and next is Xenon. I honestly kind of forgot about this palette. I remember like in launch last year, everyone kind of freaked out about it and then we all forgot about it. Immediately, I need to swatch Skift. I don't really remember what the shade looks like, but I remember I liked this one because it's the only kind of like neutral champagne shade from this palette. Ooh, that's pretty. Yeah, I want that one. And I think I used this in my other, yep, I did. See, it's already labeled. So that can go right in there. I remember this was my problem with this palette, how there are like 3 shimmery white shades. I'm gonna swatch all 3, because it was like, why did we need all 3 of these, you know? 2, 3. These two look so similar, Stellar and Neve. I don't really like Rhyme. I think I like Stellar the most if I was gonna pick a more white shade. Yeah, I guess Stellar is a little bit more sheer, and I kind of like that about it. So I'm gonna take Stellar out. And this is Xenon 3. I think it'd be nice to have a white shimmery shade in my palette. Maybe like brighten up the look or just kind of do like a really light pop of the white in the very center of the lid, something like that. I don't see myself doing like a super deep shimmery eye. I don't really wear gray shadow that much. All right, well that is 2 shades from Xenon, so I will take that. All right, I got a few more palettes to go through. I pulled out Love. Honestly, I pulled out all of my Natasha palettes just to see what I'm working with here. None of these shades are standing out to me. Ooh, the My Dream palette. This was my favorite palette of 2022. Okay, I have a couple shades I like from this palette. First, I want to swatch Babies. It's kind of like a deeper kind of pink champagne. But again, all of these are more like a true shimmer. I'm going to swatch Thrill. It's kind of more gold. I don't really wear gold a lot though. This one has a slight shift in it. And then we have Spontaneous. That is spelled wrong in the palette. I don't know if you guys knew that. I was thinking of that for an inner corner, but I think that's actually a little too deep for me to be an inner corner highlight. And then there is this, I believe it's a multi-chrome shade, Vision. Like, it's a really cool color. I just don't see myself wearing that. I feel like I could see myself using Spontaneous on the lid though, and then topping it off with like one of those more sheer shimmers. So I'm gonna take that one out. Yeah, and I think that's all I want from My Dream. Next is Retro Glam. Ooh, this Flutter shade I love. This is like a good inner corner shade for me because it's pretty white, but it still has a bit of creaminess to it. Yes, I love that. And I've already used it before. Gosh, I'm making a mess. Yes, that is perfect. I needed that to like complete that and make an inner corner highlight. I don't see myself using a green. Actually, one of my outfits on this trip is green. So what if I did like a little green inner corner highlight? Okay, wait, let me swatch this one, Palladian. You know, I just did a video on like a bunch of ways to do a pop of color, and one of my favorite ways is the inner corner, and I love using a mint green for that. But I feel like this doesn't swatch and look super green. It really looks like pretty white to me, honestly. I do want to swatch Oscar because I do really enjoy this shade from the palette as well. Again, kind of more taupey, it leans more neutral. Because this shade leans so neutral, I feel like it would just pair beautifully with the Master Mattes Neutrals palette. Yeah, okay, let's pop that out. And I've used it before. There we go, Retro Glam 3. For funsies, I want to swatch Marlin since that Palladian shade was just too white. Okay, work with me here. Okay, for a colored inner corner look, what if I did Marlin and then I put, I think this one's from Xenon, right? Like this one on top of it. That would be fun in the inner corner, wouldn't it? God, my fingers are so gross right now. You know, I have the room in my palette, so I am gonna pop out Marlin. Just in case I wanna do something a little crazy one day, you never know. This is Retro Glam, right? Yeah. I always get retro and retro glam mixed up. Like, why did she name the palettes so similarly? Retro Glam 5. And that is all I want from this palette. And then I know this is not a Natasha Denona palette, but I did also grab my Adept Flying Fiddles because somebody told me that these pans are magnetic. And if you watch my videos, I have been obsessed with this Honey Spurge shade. So I want to see if I can pop this out gently. I have like a little tool here. Oh yeah. That came out beautifully. Oh, let me swatch it for you. I know I already grabbed like an inner corner shade, but this one just has like a little bit of a yellowiness to it. Yeah, that's so pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna call this Flying Fiddles 10, 11, 12. Oh, it's literally written on the back. Okay, just kidding, I don't need to put on the sticker. Does that bother you that that one pan is just slightly bigger? Because it bothers me. Okay, I do want to swatch this yellow Bronwyn shade. I have really liked this one from the palette as well. And this one has a bit of green to it, kind of a little bit of blue. Is that similar to, I think this one is from Yucca. Kind of compare those side by side. Oh, they're pretty dang similar. There's just like a tiny hint of more green or blue in that. I think I'd say green. So I don't really think I would need both. I also want to swatch Daffodil, because this is a really fun, bright color. But do I see myself really using this one? Probably not. I do want to swatch these two more neutral brown shades because in the brown look I did with this palette, I loved how these shades looked. So this one is Meadow Foam. Oh, yeah, it's just like a beautiful brown shade all over the lid or even on the lower lash line. I want to swatch this one next to it. I believe this is Filigree from I Need a Nude. I think this one's a little bit more cool toned, yeah. Yeah, so Meadow Foam just has a little bit more bronziness, a little bit more warmth to it. I think I will grab that one out. Do not stab the shadow. Is there an easier way to do this? And is the name on the back? Yes, it is. So convenient. And then the last one I wanted to swatch is Viola Bronze. Ooh, see, that's pretty bronzy. It's pretty warm, and I just really have not been wearing super warm shadows recently, so I am gonna pass on that one. All right, so that is all I'm gonna take from Flying Fiddles. Okay, now I kind of want to rearrange these shades a little bit, so I'm actually gonna take them all out. Okay, so I like these shades together because they're kind of yellowy, kind of green. These are like my two highlight shades. So this one's a little bit more yellowy. This one's a little bit more neutral. Put my kind of more brown shades together here. Some of these look so similar, don't they? And these shades are a little bit warmer, a little bit more pink in there. Guess I'd put that one up there. That one's a little bit more white-based. I'm thinking I should re-swatch these 6 and see if there's any similarities because these kind of look the same, but I know they're different, but we should probably check. This one is Delilah from I Need a Nude. Yeah, I just love how cool toned this one is. The sparkle is beautiful. Who is this? Someone from Retro. 2. Okay, who's this one? Oh, this is the one from Xenon. This is the Skift shade. It's crazy that I can remember some of these. Yeah, so this one has a tiny bit of pink to it. You can't really tell in the pan, but you can definitely see it in the swatch there. It actually kind of swatches lighter than it looks. And then this is Filigree from I Need a Nude. Yeah, just kind of like a nice, deep, opaque, shimmery shade. And then this one is Oscar from Retro Glam. You know, as I'm looking at that, it just looks kind of boring, doesn't it? Just compared to like these beautiful shimmery shades, I'm just kind of like, meh. And then this last one is Meadow Foam from Adept. And this one is warmer for sure. Yeah. Okay, so there are all my brown shades. I think I'm gonna take out Oscar. It just looks boring. It's not really doing much for me. Sorry, Oscar. I'm kind of wondering if I should sort these by like kind of more toppery, the sparkling wet effect shades versus more opaque shimmers, just to have them like kind of separated like that. Like that just makes sense to me, you know? I'm gonna start laying these out in a way that just makes sense to my brain. And these two I'm gonna put on the bottom just because they're different sizes, and that's just gonna throw me off if I keep it in this area. Oh, I love how this looks. I'm gonna have an odd number of shadows. That's gonna bug me. I'm really debating on whether or not to keep this green in here because it's kind of like an extra shade. It doesn't really go with everything. But again, one of my outfits is like this gorgeous green color, and I feel like this would look good with it. But I just don't like how it looks with the rest of the palette, so I am gonna put this one back. And this one was from Retro Glam. Ooh, again, I put 2 shades back from Retro Glam. Oh yeah, this one is Marlin. Sorry, Marlin and Oscar. I am so curious to see if I could pop out these 2 shades from the Get Stoned palette because I have been loving this all shimmer palette, but I really only use these 2 shades. Do I dare try? They're not magnetic, right? Okay, wait, I kind of got like a little bit of something here. If I break this though, I will cry. This palette's kind of cardboard, so it's kind of easy for me to like kind of push the edges away here. I got it. Is it magnetic though? No. Do I have sticker things? I might. Found them. They were like in the back of one of my drawers that I'd sit next to me. Oh my gosh, guys. This is like my favorite shade in the world. I know this looks like all the other shimmer shades, but oh my gosh, guys. I'm so happy right now. So I'll link these things down below, but again, they're just little sticky backs that are magnetic, so you could take any shadow and make it magnetic. How do I press down on this without breaking the shadow? I don't know. I'm so happy right now. Okay, but now the question is, can I also get old money out of this palette? Yeah, and you can see these shadows are glued in here with just one little drop of glue, so come on. Nope. Ta-da! All right, so again, taking one of these, slapping that on the back. Wow. I am so excited to swatch out all these shades. Like, these are all shades I love. I'm so happy right now. Okay, here we go. I guess I'll name them off as I go if I can remember, but I know this is Flutter from Retro. I believe this is the Dream shade from Hypernatural Face Palette. This is like a quiz as I'm doing this. This, I believe, is Delilah from I Need a Nude. Hey there, Delilah, what's it like in New York City? Who is this? Okay, this shade's from Retro. I do not remember the shade name off the top of my head. So pretty. This one is Spontaneous from My Dream. You know, I'm not really loving it as I'm looking at it. It's just not like shimmery like I want it to be. And it's also a little warmer than I would like as well. I actually think I'm gonna take that one out. But now I gotta redo my whole arrangement. But I want this to be like perfect, you know? I'm trying to make my perfect shimmer palette, and this one is not perfect. We are erasing Spontaneous. Okay, so I did that one. Okay, now let's do, no, I want those to be next to each other. I'm actually gonna hop down because I want these to look in order. This one is Muse from My Dream. Sorry, not My Dream, I Need a Nude. Love, love, love this shade. Probably one of my favorite shimmery shades ever. I bet it's gonna be really similar to the Get Stoned one. Okay, who is this? Is this Filigree from I Need a Nude? This, I think, is Skift from Xenon. I cannot remember the name of this shadow, but it is from Glam. Oh, it's that inner corner shade. That's right, because they have the weird names. And then this one is from Xenon as well, right? I think this one, it's not Neve, is it? I'm not gonna know. It's shade number 3. Unsure of the name of this one, but it's from Xenon. So I think it's nice to have this kind of more white shade. And then I know these 2 shades are from Yucca, just in case I'm in like a little fun kind of yellowy green mood. I'd probably do this green with my little outfit that I'm thinking of. And then I'm gonna try to make more room on my arm here, go into my elbow crease to swatch these last 4 shades. This one is Honey Spurge from Adept Flying Fiddles. Super pretty. And then this one is Meadow Foam from Adept Flying Fiddles. Right in my elbow crease right there. Okay, and then for the last 2 shades from the Get Stoned palette, I'm really excited to see how these compare to the other ones because like I said, I've just been loving these shadows. So this one is Champagne. I think this one looks pretty similar to Muse up here, if you can see that. There we go. So that is Get Stoned, and this one is Muse. And then the last shade is Old Money from Get Stoned. On my bicep right now. Can you see that? Yes. I'd say Old Money is kind of similar to Delilah. Not really filigree, more Delilah. But that is that one. All right, I had to zoom out here so you could see my entire arm. You can kind of see how messy my desk is, but here is my dream all shimmer palette, and I feel so excited about this. I know that some of these shades look kind of similar to each other. Okay, but just like picture these next to like these neutrals from the Mario palette. And then of course my Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3. This is gonna be so perfect. All right, now let's do an eye look using my little custom shimmer palette. I am so excited to create a look with my little custom shimmer palette. Let me show you a close-up now that we got this camera view. Here are what all the shades look like close-up. So, so pretty. I know they look so similar, but this just makes me so happy to look at. I think I'm just gonna use the new Make It by Mario Neutrals palette with my shimmer palette today, just because I do wanna get some more use out of this. So I'm gonna take M7 on a fluffy crease brush. This is a rephr 15, and I'm going to start working that shade into my crease as my transition shade. Dip back into the shade and I'm just building it up. With this Mario palette, I've learned that these shades are very, very soft at first. I usually need about 2 to 3 layers to get the pigment to really show up, but because of that, I think it's a very beginner-friendly palette. But the shades do build up really nicely, and I feel like they look really smooth on the eyelid as well. I definitely think this Make It by Mario palette is more for the people who like just kind of a soft everyday look. Like, yes, you can definitely get some smoky looks out of it, but I think it's more just for the everyday neutral person. All right, so there is that kind of pinky shade built up in my crease. I'm gonna take M2 on the same brush, and I'm just gonna blend kind of right in my little nose contour area, just to soften this area a little bit. Now I'm going to switch to a rephr number 2 brush. It's just kind of like a flat shader brush, and I'm taking more of that M7 shade, and I'm going to run that across my entire lower lash line. And then I'm kind of bringing out that shadow towards my outer corner, just lightly dragging that from my lower lash line outwards. And I'm just doing that with whatever shadow is left on the brush. So I'm first placing it on my lower lash line, kind of blending it out, and then taking whatever is left over and then flicking out that shadow. So I don't want too much shadow out here. And then just going back to my fluffy brush and just softly blending under here. Now I'm going to take a bit of M5 on that same fluffy brush. So I have it on the brush like that, and I'm just going to lightly stamp on the outer part of my lid. And then once I get most of that product laid down, I am going to blend in my outer crease. And I'm using a fluffy brush for this step because I just want a soft wash of color. Just a little bit of depth on this outer part of my eye. And then if you need to blend anything, go back to the previous shade you were using. So in that case, it is M7, that kind of pinky shade. And I'm just using that to blend in the outer crease. Okay, so now I pretty much have all of my matte shades laid down, and now I definitely want to add one of my shimmers. I have so many options in here, but I'm kind of leaning towards something a little bit pinky. So I'm going to take this shade, and this one is Dreamy from the Hyper Natural Face Palette, and I'm going to tap this on this inner blank part of my lid. Oh, yes, I love this. And I kind of want this like a little bit messy, kind of all over. So I'm starting on my lid to get the most pigment right here. And then I'm gonna bring it up kind of into my inner crease area. And then I always like to go back to my fluffy crease brush and just kind of blend around that shimmer. So mostly right here in the inner crease. And then I think I want to add one more shimmer kind of right on like this outer 3/4 part of my lid. So for that, I want something a little bit more brown. So for this shade, I'm kind of thinking of Old Money from the Get Stoned palette. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that and just stamp it right out here. I'm not on the very, very outer corner of my eye, but like I'm pretty dang close to it. And then again, going back to my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of tap over that deeper shimmer. Okay, now I do think I want to deepen up the outer corner just a little bit more with a matte shadow. So I'm gonna take a little bit of M9 on that flat brush I was using. In this shade, I am gonna lightly stamp on the very outer corner. And I'm keeping this nice and low just on my lid. Then also adding some of that on the very outer part of my lower lash line. I'm super happy with how this looks so far, but I think I want to do a little shadow wing. I've really been liking doing this. So I'm going to take a small angle brush and I'm going to start with the darker brown in the palette. I did pick up a tiny bit of the black with that dark brown, and I always start by stamping that along the outer part of my top lash line. And then I'm just going to lightly flick out that shadow. There isn't a lot of product on my brush right now. So you can see it's starting to make that wing shape. And then I'm picking up a little bit more of the deep brown and kind of going over that general line. And then I will bring that line back in to make a little triangle. And you really don't want too much product on your brush when you're doing this, because the shadow wing is supposed to be kind of softer. And I'm just going to take my little flat lid brush and just kind of pat over this line to soften it out. And then I just kind of keep messing with the wing until I'm happy with how it looks. I went ahead and finished up my look with some mascara and lashes, and for my lashes I am wearing a half lash. I just love half lashes, as you guys know, and for that I'm wearing the Bright Lashes Whisper. Whisper has become my new go-to lash just because it is shorter than all of my other half lashes. Like for example, Flare is my longest one, so Flare will like go all the way out here, like it is long and dramatic, but Whisper is like the same length as my natural lashes, so it blends in really nicely and just adds a bit of fullness on the outer corner, and I just love it. Here is a final close-up of this eye look. Here is what the full face looks like with my makeup done. Yes, today is a backwards hat kind of day, but there's something I love about wearing like a full feminine face of makeup with a backwards hat. It's like so contradictory, but I just love it. Overall, I am so happy with the shimmer palette I created. I've already used it a few times off camera as well since I've made this, and I just know this is gonna be like a daily staple for me. And what I love about this is that it's making me use shadows that I normally wouldn't use, and you're like, duh, but like, I love that. I just have such a hard time hitting pan on shadows, and I just kind of tend to use the same shadows every day. So having like all of these perfect shimmers that I love all together, I know I'm probably gonna hit pan on these. Like for example, this one highlight shade Flutter that I've been using a lot for the inner corner. So I'm not just gonna grab out my whole retro glam palette to use that one shade, but in a palette like this that I know I can reach for every single day, I'll probably hit pan on that shade. If you're someone like me that has palettes that have a lot of magnetic pans, I highly recommend you do this. this, take out the shades that you love to use, create your own custom palette to get use out of the products that you already have. And again, this palette is just going to be perfect for travel for me. I think on my trip, I'm just going to bring this palette, my Patrick Ta, and my Mario, and that's all I need for my eyeshadow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.